My wife Emily has always been a conservative and traditional person. Didn't expect her to become so active privately. 3 years after marriage, she has always been shy and reserved. Suddenly became obsessed with dance. She found a private dance instructor, conduct one-on-one tutoring. She returned home at night, still practicing on the phone. I didn't expect that. She is actually live streaming secretly. I crashed her live stream with a trumpet, but nothing can be seen inside, only a vague sound. I stared at the closed door, hold tightly. The video won't play, how can it be interesting? The housing management will respond to me soon. Wait a moment. She will turn on the camera, show you some good stuff. Emily quickly revealed half of her face. She stuck her tongue out at everyone. Brothers, please give me a little more time. My husband Lucas is still beside me. I need to get him to sleep first. Her smile is really sweet, but I felt nothing inside. The woman on the screen feels completely unfamiliar. This is after I dated for 2 years, married for 3 years. Is it Emily, the wife who has lived for so long? I had never seen her show such an open side before. I usually want to get closer to her, but she always rejected me. This makes me very disappointed, to make the viewers in the live stream feel at ease. She lifted her leg up, showed off dance skills. What would you like to know? If the figure is relatively slender, is it easy to be pushed down? She turned off the video. Only some scattered sounds remain. The housing management has already expressed their opinion in the comments section. Brothers, you have to trust my judgment. Emily is a girl I taught myself. She understands quite a bit. Private message me to join the membership group if interested. There is even more exciting content inside. What is the relationship between us? Of course, this is a purely teacher-student relationship. The screen began to display a flood of 666 Many people excitedly message him. Soon after, the newly opened membership group is full again. I saw the group invite sent by the property management. After agreeing, the phone was set aside. Quietly stepped onto the balcony to smoke a cigarette. Outside the window, lights in each home began to glow one by one. Everyone is carefully tending to their own little home. My home feels cold and desolate. It's clearly mealtime. Emily is still inside. All the dishes I made are cold. If it were before, I will definitely speak to her gently. Worried that not eating will affect health, saw her live stream. I feel uncomfortable, would ask her why she did that, but now I feel particularly calm. I don't want to urge anymore, don't want to ask anymore, not sure when it started, my heart that truly loves her. It seems to have stopped beating long ago. Emily just finished a cigarette, finally opened the study door. She is wearing a tight-fitting gymnastic outfit, staring at me with anger. The air is filled with the smell of smoke. The aroma of the food has become faint. It really dampens the appetite. I clearly closed the balcony door tightly. The ventilation at home has always been really good. Never noticed any smell of smoke. I hardly smoke, only smoke 1 or 2 when encountering major events. Emily used to care about me whenever she saw me smoking, asking me if I've encountered something unpleasant. But now all I receive is scorn, but I don't care that much now. You don't need to share a bed with me tonight. This smell is really awful. She covered her nose, walked towards the bathroom. We've started sleeping in separate rooms, because she said practicing dance is hard. Only she agreed. We can share the same bed only on weekends, since starting to date. Emily became introverted and reserved as long as I speak a bit more intimately. Her face would stay red for a long time. No need to say. Matters between spouses, I sometimes want to try something new, but she often doesn't want to try. As time goes by, I've adjusted too, no longer insisting that she cooperate with me. After all, everyone's personality is a bit different. I was thinking at that moment. Emily's composure is really impressive. I picked up my phone, found the housing management is posting videos in the group. Take a look at the girl I found. How's it going? All my knowledge is devoted to her. I instinctively touched the top of my head. My head probably feels a bit strange right now, because I truly loved before. That's how I came to realize how special Emily is now. I am sitting at the table, eating cold rice. Emily just finished showering, suddenly approached me, emitting an enticing fragrance. Okay, Lucas, I'm not angry anymore. Sleep with me tonight. A thought suddenly flashed in my mind, thought of what Emily mentioned in the live stream. She told me to help me fall asleep first, then go to accompany other friends. I really want to figure it out. How will she comfort me? Why do I feel like something's off with you today? Lucas, how have you been? I shook my head gently. Push Emily's hand away. I'm really worn out today. Sleeping next to you feels a bit uncomfortable. So I decided not to go to the master bedroom. You don't need to worry about me. She looked at me with a puzzled expression. Asked if I was unhappy because of her live stream. I almost couldn't hold back my applause. Didn't expect Emily to care about that. So detailed. I honestly admit that's right. I've seen it, speaking of jealousy. In fact, it doesn't exist. Emily immediately felt much more relaxed. Is it really worth being unhappy over such a small matter? Lucas, don't be so stingy. It's just a live stream. I originally planned to practice dancing. Going live isn't a big deal. Can also collect some tips. This is a win-win situation. Really nice. I shook my head, whispered that it's okay. I feel really tired today. This is not an angry remark. It's okay. I really want to take a nap. So tired. Emily hummed softly. Say, I hope what you said is true. I don't want to hear those sarcastic remarks and empty words. You should rest first. I still have to live stream. If I accidentally disturbed you, I hope you don't blame me. Remember to bring earplugs. I walked into the second bedroom. Close the door, even if there isn't enough money. I don't want my wife Emily to do side streaming to support the family. I earn over $30,000 every month. Can earn some extra money in spare time, although not particularly wealthy. However, the economic situation is quite good, just remembering her dancing in the live stream. I still choose to remain silent. Once love is gone, not even in the mood to argue, the phone suddenly made a few sounds. I opened it and took a look. It's a few screenshots sent by Emily. I don't communicate much with them. You can check it out. I can show you some relevant information. I observed carefully. Couldn't help but laugh out loud. Screenshot this thing. The credibility is really low. She can easily find someone to make several forged items. I really feel like I'm too easy to deceive. Just use such a simple method. I sent a laughing emoji. Now I can rest easy. I need to know what Emily is up to, but I can't easily let others know my thoughts. She has never appreciated me, just as I expected. I hope she can relax her guard a little. This way, I can gradually reveal her true self. My marriage with her is now in the countdown. Since she gave me a hat, I need to find a way to repay her. I took another close look at the screenshot. Some suspicious points were indeed discovered. She marked someone as her close friend. However, I really don't know. Her best friend's profile picture is actually a photo with a floral sleeve tattoo. It's obvious that it's a man. She didn't even show the slightest reluctance. This person seems to have some issues. Just wait and see. I slept really well last night. 6 o'clock that morning, I woke up on time. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The scene from last night flashed through the mind, surprised by the reaction. I don't have a great temper. Every time I saw her getting close to other boys, I felt very angry inside. I can actually sleep until dawn now, even if waking up. It won't feel painful, indeed. When I loved her deeply, she is like a precious crystal in my heart. Once there is no more love for her, she is like a pile of broken glass. No matter how she behaves, I'll just treat it like a performance. I got up as usual, made breakfast for myself, finished eating, and went to work. Today, I decided to drive to the office myself. This Buick LaCrosse, it was purchased before marriage. Most of the time after marriage is in her hands. I take the subway to work every day. As soon as getting into the car, I had a moment. It feels a bit strange. It feels like this car has nothing to do with my home. Think carefully. It feels like it was half a year ago since I last took a ride. I got home late from work that day. The subway is gone. I made a call to have her pick me up. She finally arrived. However, kept complaining to me all the way, felt that I delayed her live stream, afraid fans will criticize. There may also be penalties. I understand now. The punishment she mentioned, probably to catch the attention of the members. I drove to the office. Noticed something off in the back seat when parking. In a corner of the driver's seat, a few clothes are scattered around. I flipped through it casually. A few pairs of differently colored stockings are rolled up together. It looks quite messy, clearly used under the seat. There is a pair of black high heels. The base is red. Legend mentions the red bottom facing the sky. Unmatched ability. I'm very familiar with this internet slang. In an instant in my mind, the figure of my wife Emily appeared. She is wearing stockings. Red at the bottom, facing the sky. Impressive. I couldn't help but smile to myself. Traditionally known wife, it might just be for show. Put everything back as it was. I got out of the car with a calm expression. Walking towards the company, as usual, greeted the colleagues. Although sitting at the workstation, the moment the computer is turned on, still can't calm down. The clothes in the car keep flashing in my mind, imagining how they look on Emily. This reminds me of many details from the past. One time we had dinner together. I noticed some faint marks on her wrist. I asked her what happened. My wife Emily said calmly to me, Sophia is learning to braid. Want to make a bracelet for me. As a result, I practiced for an entire afternoon. The hand hurt so much, still not successful. Sophia is her sister. The name is Sophia. She is 6 years younger than Sophia. Sophia is still in her senior year, occasionally stays at my house during the holidays. At that time, nothing seemed suspicious. Looking back, the source of that mark deserves some serious contemplation. It reminds me of a saying, if you don't want to ride your bike, others will take the initiative to ride on it. However, I'm actually not dissatisfied, just a sigh. However, at the same time, there is a bit of regret. We have been in a relationship for 3 years. It's been 4 years since the wedding. 7 years of love, raised a dog. That must be very intimate. Who would have thought? She has now become someone else's attendant. I was lost in thought. My wife Emily suddenly called me. As soon as we met, the first question was about where my car was. Did you take the car? Yes. You want to use this? Please go to our company's parking lot to get what you need. Perhaps I spoke too casually. She just stopped. Asked a question. Why didn't you say hello before leaving this car? No problem, right? Her tone sounded a bit uncertain. I said, it's okay. Oh, I noticed there is a bit less oil. Fill it up when coming home from work today. Oh, no need. I will drive later. I'll handle this. She immediately agreed. I said, okay, let's do it this way. There was silence on the other end of the line. She still didn't hang up. I continued to ask her, is there anything else? She hesitated, asked softly and cautiously, Lucas, you found out, right? Her intuition is remarkable, absolutely accurate. I asked her back without hesitation. What did you discover? No, really nothing. I couldn't help but ask again, what's going on here? Emily, are you hiding something from me? Fortunately not. She quickly denied it. Continue speaking, I'm just angry. Why didn't you let me know in advance when you were driving? Her tone quickly returned to normal. I understand she has no doubts anymore, so nothing more was said, then hung up the phone seriously. The most important thing is to keep everything as it was in the beginning. The more you watch, the mind thinks of more. Sometimes, due to emotional fluctuations, my thinking becomes less rational. Then, why is that so? She has clearly been unfaithful to me. I am also certain that my love for her is gone. This marriage is destined to end, so, since the overall situation is clear to me, digging deeper into the details will only make it harder for me. I just want to keep it simple. Don't want to get caught up in too many details, but some people are just unwilling to let me do it. Before getting off work, I don't really want to see Emily, so thinking of a reason not to go home at that moment, my phone rang. It's a call from Sophia, Emily's sister. Brother Lucas, your parents are calling you home for dinner. Why can't I reach my sister by phone? Are you available now? Maybe just didn't hear it. At this moment, she must have just finished her dance class. I'm sorry, I cannot help you with this content. My sister didn't go to dance class today. The teacher didn't come. My heart skipped a beat. Suddenly thought of something. I took a deep breath. Asked Sophia how she knew. You practice dance with your sister? Sure, my sister registered me. The teacher also gave me a 30% discount. I said lightly. Oh, that teacher is really good. Sophia talks a lot. Had a great chat with me. I didn't expect my sister to be so resilient. Learning to dance is not easy. I was sweating profusely from the pain when the teacher helped me stretch my legs. But my sister really enjoys it. She said she has completely covered it up, so it didn't hurt. This teacher is really good, especially good at communication. He also invited my sister and me to drink. I got drunk that day. My sister then took me to your house to rest. You went on a business trip that day. Brother, you wouldn't know. One day I woke up. Every part of the body aches. The knee is still very swollen. I really don't know what I've done. Drinking too much really leads to losing control. I won't dare to touch it again. My waist hurts a lot. It's really unbearable. Listen to her story. I felt shocked. A terrifying speculation emerged. Sophia and Emily, they are all my wives. She actually betrayed me. Is it still related to her biological sister? I know that Emily betrayed me, but I still find it hard to believe what happened with Sophia. After chatting with Sophia for a bit, I hurriedly hung up the phone. Leaving work early to tidy up, I called Emily several times on the way, but she didn't answer. She didn't go to the dance class. The teacher didn't go either. Now not even answering the phone. Where did she run to? The answer is obvious. Why is she in such a hurry, so brave? During the day, still wondering if I had found something. Go out with others at night. I am increasingly doubtful. Is this still the Emily who blushes at just a few sweet words, though feeling a strong turmoil inside? But when I arrived at Mr. and Mrs. Johnson's house, the mood has been adjusted. Both my father-in-law and mother-in-law are educated people. My father-in-law was my professor when I was in college. The mother-in-law was a Chinese language teacher at a high school before retiring. A lavish feast is already set at home. Mr. Johnson saw me come in. Let me sit down right now. Lucas has arrived. Let's have a drink first, I think. Let's wait for Emily for a while. I sent her a message. She should come back quickly after seeing it. At this moment, Mrs. Johnson interrupted. It seems she doesn't know where to go, not answering calls. This girl makes me increasingly uneasy. Sophia couldn't help but speak. Brother Lucas, I'm a little hungry. Let's get started. Maybe my sister has already eaten outside, although Sophia was talking about eating. But after listening, it felt a bit uncomfortable. How did you eat outside? I'm full. What is on the mind? Just as I was lost in thought, the phone suddenly rang, picked up the phone to take a look. It was discovered that Emily was on the phone. The eyes of Mr. and Mrs. Johnson were filled with curiosity. I just mentioned Emily's phone at the moment of connection. Hit the speakerphone button. Emily's breathing came through the phone. She asked her husband, Lucas, "What's the matter with your call?" Everyone present was an adult. Emily's phone rang. The air instantly fell silent, even though I have realized that there is no love for her anymore. But the anger inside can't be let go. The betrayal has already disappointed me. Why disrespect me like this, I'm asking you? Where are you now? What are you busy with now, husband Lucas? I'm running. Mom and Dad want us to come home for dinner. You go ahead. Husband Lucas, I had a big meal outside. Ha ha, it seems he is quite full. I slammed my phone down, thumped heavily on the dining table. Mr. Johnson's face suddenly turned pale. The lips trembled slightly a few times. He shouted angrily, "That's really annoying." Then he began to cough violently. Sophia saw this scene. Hurry over to give Mr. Johnson a pat on the back, gave me a heartfelt gaze. Mrs. Johnson's face turned red. She suddenly grabbed the phone on the table, shouting loudly, "Emily, hurry home, hurry up. It's time to take action." There was silence on the other end of the phone for several seconds. Mrs. Johnson asked again, "Ask me. Did you hear that?" Then, the busy tone came from the other end of the line. Emily no longer dared to speak. Mr. Johnson coughed for a while, suddenly felt breathless. It feels like asthma is coming on. Sophia and Mrs. Johnson quickly took out the spray medication. It eased a little after a few sprays. I sit quietly like a statue. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Johnson's asthma has finally eased. His body was still trembling slightly. Clearly very angry, Mrs. Johnson patted his back, said to me regretfully, "Lucas, don't rush. Things may not be as we imagine. Sit here for a while. Wait until she comes over to chat. Is that okay in the end?" The tone comes across as a bit humble instead. Since I married Emily, I mostly handle various important and trivial matters for her family. In the past, her family's situation is really quite good afterward. Several things happened in succession. For example, Michael's company went bankrupt, and he jumped off a building. Mrs. Johnson was scammed. The pension was also lost as a result. The Johnson family's life suddenly became difficult. Sophia's college expenses are paid by me. Whenever Mr. and Mrs. Johnson were hospitalized due to illness, I will take care of them. Mrs. Johnson often says I have done a favor for the Johnson family. I remember when I married Emily, it really makes me feel a bit out of my depth. But later, the world changed unpredictably. I became the sole support of the Johnson family. So now, the whole family was extremely anxious, heard Mrs. Johnson's apology. I just replied softly, did not continue speaking. She let out a slight sigh. Helped Mr. Johnson walk toward the bedroom. Only Sophia and I were left in the living room. When Mr. and Mrs. Johnson's bedroom door closed, Sophia leaned beside me. Asked softly, "Brother Lucas, what are you planning to do?" I looked up. Look into her eyes, ask her, "Did you know something all along?" Sophia slightly glanced away. Gently bit her lips. I take the opportunity to ask you, have they ever been hurt? You got drunk that night, live at my home. Did something happen? Sophia shivered slightly. Tears instantly filled her bright, dark eyes, but she just bit her lip, trying hard not to speak. "See this?" I suddenly shouted. "Go ahead and say it. It's this time now, aren't you going to tell me?" This song. It seemed to release the suppressed emotions within Sophia. She was in tears. Leap into my arms. The face is buried in my chest, crying while trying to speak quietly. "Brother Lucas, my sister's behavior is really excessive. That night they got me quite drunk. The next day when I woke up, severe headache. The body feels uncomfortable. I feel something's off. Went to the hospital for a checkup. After that night, I feel very different from how I used to be. I have some guesses in my mind, but after Sophia finished speaking, I am still shocked. Emily, how could it be so disappointing? This is her biological sister. What is she really thinking? Sophia cried sadly. I gently patted her shoulder. Not sure what to say at that moment. A faint sound came from the bedroom. Sophia and I turned around, just surprised to see Mrs. Johnson lying on the ground. She definitely heard Sophia's cries, unable to bear such a blow, fainted. I got up immediately, rushed over to Mrs. Johnson's. She suddenly fell just now. The head hit the door frame. There was some blood oozing from the back of the head. Her face turned pale. Lips started to show bruising. Mrs. Johnson has always had a weak heart. She immediately got excited upon hearing the news. I quickly pinched her philtrum, then shouted at Sophia, who was already in tears. "Go get the quick-acting, heart-saving pills. Hurry up and get it. Hurry up." Sophia cried out, "Mom, please wake up quickly." I staggered over to the nightstand to get the medicine. I pinched Mrs. Johnson's philtrum. The other hand was desperately calling her name. When Sophia received the quick-acting, heart-saving pills, her Mr. Johnson has been in bed due to asthma. Coughing heavily, trying hard to get out of bed, I said to Sophia, "Remember to take good care of Dad. I'm taking my mom to the hospital. She seems a bit unwell." At this moment, Sophia hurriedly grabbed the asthma medication, sprayed medicine on Mr. Johnson's throat. I gently pried open Mrs. Johnson's mouth, put the fast-acting, heart-saving pill into her mouth. A piece was also placed under her tongue. She showed no reaction at all. I can only call 121st, then pick her up sideways, prepare to go to the hospital. Just as I was about to go out, the door suddenly opened. Emily walked in, stretching her neck. She saw me like this, stunned for a moment. The expression changed immediately. "Ask the way." "Lucas, what's wrong with you? Do you have something to do?" I shot her a glare. No more words are desired. He lifted his leg, stepped heavily on her abdomen, pushed her out the door. She is still in bed. I have walked past Mrs. Johnson while holding her, seeing her shocked expression. I give a cold smile. Said, "Look at what you've done. This is really unbearable." I just went downstairs. Mr. Johnson was heard shouting at home, "Today I'll take your life." Transported for medical care promptly. Mrs. Johnson is still alive, still need to rest for a few more days. When Mrs. Johnson was settled in bed, it's almost midnight. Mrs. Johnson was in tears, hold my hand tightly, repeating over and over, "Sorry." I whispered a reassurance that it was fine. Let the elderly person rest easy and fall asleep first. As a mother, the harm she suffered in this matter, definitely not less than mine. The doctor administered a sedative to her. She cried for a while, then fell into a deep sleep. I sat by the bed for a while, constantly recalling the moments with Emily over the past 2 days, filled with rage. This hatred has reached a point where even getting angry feels like too much effort. Hate to the extreme, smoked a few cigarettes in the hospital bathroom. Thoughts slowly began to emerge in my mind. Take out the phone, made a long uncontacted call. A beautiful voice came from the other end of the phone. "Oh dear, you are a great writer. Why are you calling me in the middle of the night? I didn't expect you to remember me." The person across looks very excited, but I don't feel anything. I said to her without hesitation, "Jessica, I was betrayed." It was dumbfounded for a while. Whispered to me, "Where are you? I went to find you. I don't want any comfort, Jessica. I need you to do me a favor." Jessica was stunned for a while again. "Ask me how. I will come to help you. Please tell me the relevant information. Thank you. However, I'll tell you the news tomorrow, all right." The voice on the other end immediately agreed. Still talking to me. "Lucas, don't be too nervous, no problem." After I finished saying that, just hang up the phone. The girl on the phone is named Jessica. It's a friend I met a few years ago, when I first started my job. Frequently accompany clients to entertainment venues. Jessica had just arrived in the city from the countryside, busy in the night venue with hometown sisters. I witnessed her transformation from a simple, honest countryside girl, transformed into a social butterfly. It's kind of funny to say I often support her, but there have never been excessive demands. This actually left a strong impression on her several years ago. She told me frankly, "Brother, just say a word. I am willing to help you with anything. I don't care about money. If it really doesn't work, giving a little bit is fine." At that time, I cared a lot about Emily. Of course, it's impossible to agree. Afterward, what Jessica said when she saw me was different. She said, "I was thinking about giving it to you. It's because you seem very kind. I have a crush on you, even if you want it very much now. I won't give you any more." She whispered to me to take good care of my health. "Aren't you afraid of me being so close to you?" I soon understood what she meant by dirty. I held her shoulder, gently patted her back. "Want to offer some comfort? Don't worry. I will definitely invite you to future gatherings. Actually, I'm not kind-hearted, but is clear about the condition of that illness. As long as there is no close contact, it is less likely to get infected." She promised me with tear-filled eyes. "Lucas, just rest assured. I will never hurt anyone in my life, not even you will. If I can help, let me know anytime. Now, I really need her help." Hanging up after Jessica's call, I smoked for a while in the stairwell. When I returned to the ward, Emily and Sophia have arrived. Emily's forehead is bandaged. The left eye also has some bruising, clearly injured. She is wearing a short skirt. There are some scars on the knee, but that was in the past. I asked her what happened to her knee. She said she was injured while dancing. Now I understand. It is indeed worn, mainly due to kneeling too much. It got worn out when they saw me walk in. The two sisters gave me bewildered looks. Emily's eyes were filled with guilt. Gently open your mouth seems like wanting to say something. I didn't look at her again. Instead, the focus turned to Sophia. I asked her, "Is Dad doing well at this moment?" She attracted curious glances from others. Sophia shook her head first. After a pause, said it's nothing. Asleep. Through this eye contact, we are aware, silently reached an agreement. I'm not just asking about Mr. Johnson. More concerned about whether Emily's injury was revealed. She not only told me about Mr. Johnson. Also tell me. Emily still doesn't know that Sophia and I are aware of her involvement with that fitness instructor. At this moment, Emily seems to have adjusted her emotions, took a few steps and came in front of me. Then, a thud, kneeled down. She tightly hugged my leg. Crying softly, "Please ask me to call her. Dear, I understand I was wrong. It's really a big mistake. I beg you to forgive me. From now on, I will never do this again." Tears kept rolling down her cheeks, if in the past. She doesn't need to cry like this at all. As soon as she pouts, my heart softened. But now, I don't feel well. This is the first time she knelt in front of me. However, privately, her knee has long been scarred. This person's knees are really worthless. I quickly stepped back several paces. Said coldly, "Don't get too close to me." She walked almost in sync with me, quickly stepped forward a few paces, then tightly hugged my thigh. "Lucas, I really made a mistake. It's really my fault. Will you forgive me? You can come hit me." Emily is quite tall. Kneeling down, the head was right near my stomach. She pleaded for my forgiveness, tears streaming down her face. One side of the face leaned in. This behavior makes me feel very uncomfortable. Her skills are truly impressive. She knows deep down, in private. She has knelt in front of others many times, not even clear about it. In fact, at that time, she certainly wasn't crying to ask for forgiveness. Instead, smile brightly to please him. Some unpleasant images flashed through the mind. I completely lost control of my emotions, gave oneself a hard slap. I exert myself. This is the first time I've hit her in my life. It's also the first time hitting a woman. I slapped her. As a result, a bright red handprint immediately appeared on her face. I took the opportunity to step back a few more paces, pointed at her. "Emily, don't make a fuss here. Don't cry or whine, don't forget. Your mother is lying on the hospital bed." Just now that palm struck down. Emily was momentarily stunned. Her crying temporarily stopped. It took a while to realize what had happened. I thought she would be upset because I hit her. Keep arguing with me. She mentioned it to me several times. If I encounter a man who abuses women, she will definitely help me get a divorce. Now, I really hit her. She actually came over to me on her knees again. She hugged my leg tightly once again, "Lift your face," said with a choke in the voice. "Lucas, my love, please go on as long as you can express your emotions. Feel free to vent however you like." She looked at me without moving, actually pulled my hand to slap their own face. I rejected her again. She started to pat herself. A wave of the left hand struck hard on the face, the crisp sound of applause and her repeated "I was wrong" echoing in the midnight ward. I really can't control myself. Walk over and grab her hand, helped her up from the ground. "You don't have to do it this way. You are already an adult. Mistakes must be faced with the corresponding consequences. The current approach won't change the situation." Hearing these words, she struggled desperately, "Want to kneel again. Let go, please, if you won't forgive me." I would feel very upset at this moment. Mrs. Johnson, who had already been administered a sedative, finally woke up. She sighed deeply, whispered, "Emily, stop it. This sentence is finished. It feels like all her strength is gone." Seeing this scene, Sophia hurried to the bedside. "Mom, are you okay?" Emily finally stopped making noise. I pushed her away, walked to the bedside. "Bend down and ask Mrs. Johnson." "Mom, what do you think?" Mrs. Johnson's lips moved for a long time, finally spoke slowly. "Lucas, our family owes you a lot. If possible, can she have another chance? I'm begging you." I turned my head, make eye contact with Sophia. Her gaze was filled with complex emotions, yet very firm. "Emily betrayed me. I really can't forgive this." I think it's almost impossible for Sophia to forgive her. After all, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson actually did not make a mistake. Looking at the seriously ill Mrs. Johnson, I feel lost. While I was troubled about how to respond to Mrs. Johnson, I caught a glimpse of Emily in my peripheral vision. She has regained her composure at this moment. She expressed her regret, kneeled on the ground. This movement exposed her lower back. A red ribbon was hanging around her waist. It looks like a low-quality underwear strap. Additionally, some writing could be seen faintly on her waist. Just half of it was revealed, but I recognized it right away. The two words "era public utility." I forced down the discomfort in my heart, turned the head, our gazes met. I know she noticed too at this moment. My anger is about to explode. However, I took a deep breath, tried to speak to Mrs. Johnson in a calm tone. "Okay, I promise you, I hope you get well soon." "I have forgiven her." Sophia was taken aback, immediately stood up. She looked very angry. I didn't look at her, just gave Emily a light kick, say it calmly to her. "Get up. I have already promised, Mom. I have forgiven you too. Live well in the days to come." Emily finally stood up. She mumbled thank you several times. "Husband Lucas." Then I climbed onto the bed, apologized to Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson turned her head, said nothing. I gently patted Emily on the shoulder. "Speak gently. All right, stop messing around. Mom wants to take a break. I'll be here with you tonight. Go see Dad. He is home alone." Emily nodded obediently, then left. Now it's just me and Sophia in the ward. We didn't speak anymore, just sitting quietly by the bedside, after Mrs. Johnson's breathing stabilized again. We just walked out of the ward together. I lit a cigarette in the hospital hallway. Sophia said, "Give me one." I placed the cigarette and lighter in front of him. She took a deep breath, coughed a few times, just opened the mouth to ask, "You really forgave her? This matter just ended like that?" I stared at the smoldering cigarette butt. "Until this cigarette burns out." Then I slowly said to her, "Let's continue with our lives now. That event happened a long time ago. The evidence may no longer even exist. The law might not be able to help you about those people. Let time be the judge." Her face was filled with anger. Throw the unfinished cigarette butt hard on the ground. Then stepped on it a few more times. She got up to leave, whispered a few words. "You are really useless." The name Sophia, I called out to her. The tone is gentle. Remind her not to be too impulsive. "Please give me some time." I have always believed in two statements. One sentence is, "Evil deeds will ultimately be repaid." Some people always tend to do things that aren't very good. 3 days later, Mrs. Johnson has finally returned home from the hospital. Her body is temporarily in good condition. However, the mental state is clearly not good, often lost in thought alone. Mr. Johnson's asthma is getting worse. Frequent occurrences. I have to be by his side all the time. Emily decided to quit the dance class. No more live streaming, to wholeheartedly take care of the elders at home. I think she lacks experience, so resigned from the job, take care of Mr. and Mrs. Johnson with her. Sophia thinks the internship location is too far from home, just rented a house outside. Basically, rarely go home, except I don't want to live with Emily. Life seems to have gone back to how it was before. 2 months later on a certain day, I received a message from Jessica. This information is very simple, only one thumbs up emoji. I transferred 100,000 yuan to her. 3 months later, one day, Emily went grocery shopping. After a long time of wandering, finally returned home. Confused look on the face, I asked her what happened. She managed a smile, said it was nothing, probably a bit tired. Another half-month passed. I'll wait for Emily to go grocery shopping again, silently follow her. Then saw her enter the CDC. I picked up the camera on my phone, entered in. She is with a tall, muscular man. A man with a slightly poor complexion was filmed during an argument. She accused that person with tears in her eyes. "It's all your responsibility. It's all because of you. I would only get this kind of illness." The man looked utterly impatient. Immediately slapped Emily. "Who knows if this is because trouble followed her. Please move a little away from me. Emily is my wife. Why could someone act against her?" I rushed outside, take the opportunity to discuss with him. Casually picked up Emily's examination report. The test results show that HIV is positive. The next day, I took the evidence to court, formally apply for divorce. 2 months later, the verdict is finally out. Emily's entire fortune is gone. As time goes by, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson gradually left this world. They wrote a will, ended the affection with Emily. All inheritance rights are granted to Sophia. Emily has been missing since that day. Sophia and I didn't go look for her either. Both she and that man have contracted this illness. Life and death depend only on the length of time. 1 day later, I was talking with Sophia about how to decorate the new house. Suddenly saw a local news story. A tragedy occurred by the Hudson River after a woman argued with her partner. The male companion was seriously injured, unfortunately passed away. Then, she made the choice to jump into the river. The woman jumping into the river in the censored short video. It feels strangely familiar. Sophia hesitated for a few seconds, finally deleted that video.